Hey, I've been gone for quite some time. However, I'm here now, and I'm not going to make the mistake of saying the same thing I said at the end of my last video. I would be back indefinitely. I mean, I was indefinitely for that one video. Now, the astute among you may have noticed one thing. My hair's a bit different. Nah, just kidding. I got a new mic, so I don't look goofy holding that huge one. And the reason I got it, that one broke, and so did that monitor, and so did so many things over the past 6 months. My luck is horrible. That's not the point, though. Don't worry about it. Today, we're talking about something much more important, something much more serious. Landlords. What happened to them? They used to be so cool. Welcome to the first of hopefully many episodes in this series. Why isn't something cool anymore? And how can we make it cool again? Title needs a little bit of work. Episode 1, we got landlords. Why aren't landlords cool anymore? You know, landlords used to mean you had a castle high above a medieval village, and you had a fief to a king or queen or emperor, you know, of some kind. A garrison, a guard. You could say, hey, halt, seize that guy right there, and they would seize him without question. Can't do that anymore. You know, if I was a landlord and I tried to seize a guy on the street, I'd get shot probably. The potential in landlords, 600, 700 years ago was much better. You could be a cool landlord, you know? You could be, relaxed on your taxation policy. Maybe this month I'll take a few less coins, you brought me a good harvest. Take a little bit more wheat, a few less coins, you give a little, get a little, Good arrangements with your tenants, or I guess you would call them your peasants, right? I don't think there's a different term for that. Brief, concise point to feudalism, if you don't know what it is. It was the ruling style in medieval Europe and also China way before, but that's a topic for another day. Ruling style in medieval Europe, basically you had a king, and then he had like vassals, and if you were a vassal, you would own fiefs or pieces of land, and you could give those out to people. And basically, it was like a local ruler, like the figurative mayor of your town would control all the lawmaking and everything in your town. Most notable, I guess, large working system with this was the Holy Roman Empire. Don't talk shit to me, Voltaire. I hate you. It was holy and it was an empire. It was just a big empire, and everybody kind of did their own thing. It didn't go super well. No, didn't go over super well. The landlords used to be wonderful, and that's one part of it. You used to actually be a lord. Landlords now aren't lords. You don't deserve that title. You don't own anything. You're not a lord. You're just too lazy to go fix a burst water line at 2 in the afternoon. You're not a lord. Get off your horse with that title, or lack thereof. Your lack thereof, because we had horses. I say we, I wasn't alive. You could host hunts and bountiful feasts. Those parts of my knowledge come from Crusader Kings 3. Thank you, Paradox Interactive. Please sponsor me. Or don't. I have bones to pick with you. I have bones to pick with you, Paradox Interactive. You could be goated. You could be goated or evil is what my notebook says. It says goated or evil, and I assume when I was delirious and writing that at like 2:30 in the morning, I meant you could be a good landlord or you could be a bad landlord. So yeah, there were some evil guys 600 years ago, believe it or not. Some guys weren't always nice people to their little tiny peasant guys, but I would include the entire town instead of locking them out of my feast, Come, John, cometh break bread with me, do the honors in my castle. And then maybe you'll have to be conscripted as a levy to go fight a war that I decided to fight in like a year. So, I mean, realistically, landlords aren't all that different now if you think about it, because they're still subject to the draft, right? Unless that's written in like the law. It's like landlords cannot be drafted, they're too important. But then who are you? Who are your tenants if the entire country is, fighting a war halfway across the world? Who are your tenants? Landlords, you can go fight. I would as a medieval lord, dude, I would lead my troops into battle. I would be like the new Caesar, I would have loyal legions of levies, and I would kit my guys out. I wouldn't be like, bring your pitchfork, pay for your own shit. I would give you the best javelins. I would give you no, not a rapier. No, you need something better than that. I don't know. I would have a goated pikeman regiment is all I'm saying. Like, unstoppable. Unless there's like, catapults and other medieval shit. In which case, maybe it's a little more stoppable. Now let's analyze modern landlords, which in my book I have a big thumbs down next to and boo in all caps. So I think we know my opinion on this. Their sole focus is income. You used to care about loyalty. You used to have honor to your empire. You used to kind of care about your peasants, even if you didn't like them. If they had a bad harvest, it means you're not really eating well either. I just knocked my camera. What are you gonna do? One kind of landlord I will exempt from most of this list is like accidental landlords. Most of the time they're good people. I find that oftentimes people that like sublet one room or something and they have somebody rent like a room, they tend to be pretty chill. But like, I'm talking mass landlords. Like, if you own a building and you lease it out and whatever, you're not as cool as you could be. However, accident landlords, some of these do apply. You could be cooler. You could be working on that. You're not even lords. You're not even a lord anymore by definition, and you don't have a fief. You own the property. You don't serve a greater purpose to your empire. You're not managing a piece of land for your liege anymore. You are just owning land to own land. That's not as cool. That's not nearly as cool. You have one landlord who is just trying to make money and like scalp their tenants, and then you have the other kind of landlord that is doing it because it is their duty. Your family lineage has birthed you into this right of land in where you must take care of your peasants. You must make sure they are all happy, have enough iron golems to fend off the pillagers. Those were a big deal back in the 15th centuries. There is no glory. There is no honor. There are no alliances. There's barely even prosperity for you. Because, if your tenants were, like, thriving, if your peasants, sorry, I'll separate the words. If your peasants were thriving in, like, medieval feudalism, you'd be like, hey, my guys just fucked up a new irrigation system, and I'm eating good tonight. I will have the finest bread because my baker has been training for quite some time. But now, if you're a landlord and your tenant, like, cures cancer, you can't take credit for that because you don't give a damn about them, and you're no longer their, like, you're not their lord. You're not their literal landlord. You are just the person that owns the property and is too lazy to fix it on most occasions. Why can't you just plug the hole in the ceiling instead of letting it drop water on the middle of the hallway? I haven't, and that's another thing, Feudalism, there weren't any water pipes that could burst in your house. So the landlords couldn't be too lazy, so we never really know if they were, but I would suspect they weren't. On a more real note with it, I found out in my, like, vague research of landlords, this is minimal, by the way, this is to be taken with my opinion, which is correct inherently, so whatever that means. It is very broken in, like, the capitalist system, and corporate towns exist where a corporation can own a bunch of houses and then let their employees live there for cost, and then, very maliciously change rent with the raising and lowering of, like, wages and stuff. So you can, like, I get that could be considered more feudalistic, like, if you have a corporate town and then you, like, lease them out to different people, then you have, like, a feudalist empire, which I don't think that's legal to have like, is it legal to have like landlord corporations where one big guy owns a bunch of stuff and then has vassals that do? I feel like that shouldn't be legal. I hope it's not. I am discovering horrific things in the post-production process. It's Jesus Christ. And then finally, you don't have a labor force or a guard, unless you're spending the money to hire PMCs to just walk around with you through the streets of like rural New Jersey. There's no point to it. But you don't have a labor force, basically making your food for you, while also supplying your economy, and you have no guard. You also can't conscribe them as like levies. Technically, they're a levy to their greater government, but you can't personally use them to go fight a block war with the YNs down the street who keep yelling 6-7 at you and talking about mangoes for some reason. I don't know what that means. PMCs could be useful in that situation, but that's a lot of money to hire like Blackwater, or they changed their name like 3 times. Aren't they Constellus now? Blackwater, they used to be like Academy, and then now they're Constellus, I think. Constellus Security? I don't know. I don't keep up with Blackwater. Now, I've talked a lot of gloom. How do we fix this? How do we get down to the brass tacks and fix this? Well, I've got a brief list of everything we need to do. I'm writing this into legislation. I will propose this in, not Congress because I'm not American, but good old Canadian Parliament. I will make this a thing. And I have a name. I've come up with an acronym for the bill, and it is Landlord. Now you're probably wondering, that's convoluted, and what does it stand for? It stands for landlord. I wanted it to sound cool, but I was too lazy to think of a proper acronym, so forgive me on that front. Rule number 1 of the landlord bill: all landlords must have a medieval style banner. You must have an emblem, and I give medieval style some leniency. You can go anything kind of symbolic. You can go ancient China, you can go Sengoku Jedi, like Japan stuff. You can go Mediterranean, you can go African with it, but don't make it like the redesign of the Staples logo, corporate, stuff like that. No. We want cool medieval style banners. I want a lion eating a rabbit and throwing a spear into the back of like a stock image or something. I want something cool that shows that you're unique and also like proud to something. Optional, not it's preferred. I might write this in as like a mandatory thing. You must swear allegiance to somewhere, whether that be like a region, like I swear allegiance to the Crown of Ontario, or I swear allegiance to Latvia. Goated. But you gotta have some kind of, in order to be a landlord, you have to have a liege to you. And you don't have to like the liege. They never really liked lieges in history. Maybe sometimes you did, maybe sometimes you didn't. I don't know what your deal was. In CK3, most of my vassals don't like me because I'm a different religion, and there's a lot of racism too in that game, I find. But yeah, you must swear allegiance. That's preferred. So if somebody knows what you stand for, or you can have like kind of an alliance type deal going on with another vassal under the same liege. You must be certified as per a new requirement that will be in this bill, uniquely dripped out, as conducted a survey by the Homeowners Association, which will undergo a medieval reform. See, you gotta have drip. You can't be a landlord. I guess you can embarrass your entire empire if you want to, but you have to have the drip to go with your power. You can't be sitting on lies like that. You will be encouraged to train a militia and have like a garrison of your guys, keep them militaristically ready. However much you fund them is completely up to you. Now, I don't know if this means I'm gonna try to get the entire world to go back to like spears and pike and crossbow. But if that doesn't work, you can always, bust out old reliable like a 308, fucking obliterate the nearest political figure that your, fiefdom doesn't like. I don't know. I'm not gonna do that. This isn't a threat towards anybody in particular. Additionally, you will be encouraged to develop community and town projects. I don't know how this encouragement is going to work yet, but build a well. Let me get some water action in there, or fund some irrigation, some better roads. I don't know, systems like that. Put back into your community, and preferably have them live in like one centralized-ish kind of area. But develop your community independently from what the state or province or whatever would require. And also run for local council. Say I owned a few houses in my city. You got to run for mayor or to run to be on the council, so you can, have influence on your fiefdom in itself, and perhaps the greater empire. So you're not left out if you're on the periphery or something like that, which I technically, that's maybe I would be. I don't really know what we're counting as the periphery of Canada. Like, nobody lives anywhere, and then everybody lives in like one spot, so I don't really know what we're counting. And the final decree, you must carry a quill and ink and know how to properly use it. I'm not standing for any of this bullshit. And if you're signing something, none of that digital signature stuff you open in like Adobe, what is it, that PDF editor, I don't know what it's called, but none of that digital signature stuff. If you want to sign a decree, you do it on a scroll with quill and ink. I'm not having any more of this stupid shit where you sign an executive bill with a pen on a desk. No, quill and ink and a scroll, just like the good old days. And just like that, that is the bill, and that is my proposition on how we can fix landlords, because they're not cool anymore. They used to be cool landlords, and now they're just lame, and they won't fix the water pipes in the ceiling when they burst in the afternoon. It's not like we're bothering you at 2 in the morning. It's right there, and we have a bowl under it collecting water, and you won't fix it. Anyway, got some cool things coming next. There's a hint. I don't know if you can see where I'm looking. I'm not going to give it away. But I already have an episode 2 planned out for this series. Anyway, now onto my outro spiel, so you're not missing anything if you just click off. I have a lot more free time now. I graduated high school, so I can now yap more. I got a new microphone, which works a lot better with my audio quality. So, this is me saying it again. Hopefully I'm back this time. Anyway, go vote for my bill. Make landlords cool again. That's better than the other one.